Hi, I'm Dr. George Yancey. Let's shatter some paradigms. And the paradigm we'll share today concerns educated Democrats and revolution. There was a Vox article that came out a little while ago that I found very interesting. Now, you may know that I have an interest in studying white educated progressives. I have a playlist on that, and this is part of that playlist. I think they're a very important group that does not get enough critical analysis. I've engaged in some critical analysis. I've engaged in writing some articles about them, some peer-reviewed articles about them. And so when this Vox article came about, looking at educated Democrats, I thought that's close enough. Maybe we don't have the white part of it, but that's close enough to who I'm interested in. So I read the article, and it was very fascinating. The theme of the article is why people don't like the Democrats. And what the author concluded was that the differences between the educated Democrats and almost everyone else. Educated Democrats differ not just from Republicans, which is to be expected, but from non-educated Democrats. And they pointed out, and this is where I think the white does matter, from Democrats of color. So, how do they differ? Well, they differ on issues such as gun control, climate change. They differ from almost everyone. They're much more progressive on these issues. They're much more wanting strong gun control. They want us to tackle climate change. They differ dramatically on these issues. I'm more interested in how they differ from other Democrats than how they differ from Republicans. They're a different political party. That's not that interesting. But on these issues, your average Democrat isn't as much into gun control, isn't as much into climate change. It seems to me that your average Democrat, what they want is they want reform. Your working class Democrat, your minority, they want reform. Yeah, some gun control, but not extensive gun control. Yeah, climate change may be a problem, but let's not change everything over it. And we see this in a lot of issues, which helps us to conclude that the educated Democrat wants revolution, whereas most other Democrats want reform. They want things changed, but they don't want to throw out everything away. Throw out the baby with the bathwater, if you will. Before we go on, if you're enjoying this, please slip me a like, give me a comment. You disagree, or I say something that offends you, or go ahead and comment. I can take it. I'm a big boy. Really think about subscribing. If you like this sort of conversation, consider subscribing, and hopefully we'll have more, and we can build more of a community. I'm looking to build a community that is not red or blue, but Christian in a sense. That we're no longer comfortable being with the left or the right. We see problems in both. And I want to talk about certain issues, such as the educated Democrat. So let's get back to that. So the educated Democrat wants revolution. Other Democrats want reform. This support of revolution ties them to support of groups that are more revolutionary in their orientation. I'm thinking of Black Lives Matter, Antifa, other groups like this that are not seeking just to make some small reforms, but want to fundamentally change our society. I suspect that the educated Democrat was very instrumental in Mondami winning the mayor race in New York. Mondami wants revolution. I think that is a qualitatively different mindset than almost everyone else who wants reforms. You're basically saying that our society as it stands is fundamentally flawed, and you can't tinker around the edges to fix it. There may be elements we keep, but we're fundamentally throwing away a lot of the things that people like about our society and bringing something new. I think this comports with a lot of what I've been learning about white educated progressives, in that they want fundamental change. They want to take away a lot of what we're already doing and change it to something else. It may be Marxian based. It may be based on feminism and gender roles. It may be, Afrocentrism. But they feel that the way our society is does not work. And they want to change it dramatically. Those who don't want to change it dramatically see this as a problem. They want to make changes that, they don't want. I'll give you one really good example. There's what we call 80-20 issues. Issues where 80% of the country feels one way and 20% feels another way. And what's interesting is the educated Democrat often finds themselves in the 20. The classic example is having trans in women's sports. Do trans women, and by this what I mean is people who are born male, or some people say assigned male at birth, but I prefer to think born male, born with masculine physical traits, should they be allowed to participate in sports with women? 80% of the country, and I'll put myself in that 80%, say no. 20% of the country say yes. Educated Democrats are overrepresented in that 20% of the country. There's no doubt about that. So why? Well, if revolution is what you want, this would fundamentally change our notions of sex, or gender, athletics. This is not a tinker around. This is not saying, Title IX, where women get as much money as men in sports, which is a big change, but it's a reform. It's not a revolution. And that's what many people, they're fine with that. Having someone born male, and especially after they've gone through puberty and they've developed the mass and the strength and the speed, having them then participate against women, 80% of the country say, no, we don't want that. We don't want that type of revolution. So the educated Democrat has to find ways to facilitate this revolution. I think in many times it makes them desperate, if you will, willing to engage in activities that most of us would find unacceptable. Perhaps the types of protests that leads to riots, the sort of stigmatizing of others. They're educated, so they have some sort of cultural power. This is part of what we have to think about. And as Christians, whether we're a Democrat or not, the educated Democrat is someone who is seeking to upend our society, revolution, and probably part of that may be in the Christian faith. I don't doubt that. And I know that educated Democrats tend to be less religious than average as well. It's something that we need to pay attention to. I hope you find this interesting. And once again, if you do, give me a like or a subscribe. And most importantly, please come back. We can shatter some more paradigms.